ladies and gentlemen, from New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out to join this discussion. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. How I got to where I am is something that was a circuitous journey, to be sure. And if anyone in the room remembers what I was like in high school, it might come as some surprise that I'm a science company, let alone at the helm of one. But I left Hawken and went to McAllister College for a year, sometime in the Soviet Union during that year. The second year I was in Scotland, at the University of Edinburgh.
You can tell a Moscow story.
Okay. Yeah. Come back to that one. Third and fourth years, I went to Oberlin, where I graduated. From Oberlin, I went to work for the government for a while in a very different foreign service capacity. And then I left that to come back to Cleveland, where I went to graduate school here at Case, JP Then went off to do investment banking in New York with JP Morgan, and then from the US and then Europe and some in Asia. From there, I moved back to Boston, and from there to New York. And along that time in banking, where I spent a lot of time raising money for companies, I got the opportunity to look at a whole variety of companies and what they were involved in, use of that capital, and got very interested in life sciences, as I refer to the pharmaceutical industry, drug device, and biotech. So I'm now currently on my second biotech company. My first one I left in 2010 after taking it public. This one is a company called Insmed. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the company, except if people have questions about it. But really want to focus on the topic tonight, which is why medicine is so expensive. I think the right answer to that question from the perch of somebody within biotech who's building drugs and then setting prices for those drugs and watching the journey that those drugs take is to begin with an understanding of the sort of two parts of where the price comes from. The first part is what the drug company does, research, developments, creating the drug from scratch, from an idea. And the second part is what happens to it once we set the price and how it finds its way through the ecosystem, the supply chain, to the patient at the other end. It always surprises people when they finally appreciate how far away the drug company actually is from the patient. But that space is actually quite broad. So with that, I thought just a quick primer on.
Talking for a second.
In a few moments, we'll have a
Will, your company produces a drug.
So we're in the process of developing a drug. We do not have a commercially approved drug yet, but we hope to, and ask me that question about a little over a year.
That's the goal, to
That's
produce a drug.
Approved, and then to launch it and sell it ourselves. But what I thought we would start off with is a quick snapshot of what the pharma industry has put out recently, because everyone knows from the dialogue that's out in the news right now, the price of drugs is skyrocketing. The practical implication of that for you is that when you go to get your medicine or you hear about getting medicine, these outrageous stories of six-figure cost drugs not being available, or people becoming bankrupt trying to pay for their own health care. How did we get there? Who's behind that scenario? And how is that any part of a wise social policy? So here we will try to see if we can do.
You want to see the video?
Yeah, the video drug discovery process. There you go. That would be great. Just play them in the expanding box. Play. No, you're fast forward. I'm going to go back to skip out. And go back. So maybe we can flip through the slides again. I don't think we'll spend a lot of time on them. That you'll forgive the promotional sounding nature of that video. It comes from pharma, which
In
is
drug research and development, the patient is the main focus. The mission for Novartis is to help the patient overcome this disease and improve their.
this is why I get involved in technology. You just go to the second slide.
Good time.
There we go. So the video you saw was put out by Pharma, which is one of the public advocacy groups for the biotech pharmaceutical industry, in response to what has happened in the wake of these stories of Mylan and Shkreli taking drugs and raising the price up outrageously and soaking people and insurance companies for the cost. The reason I wanted to go through that and frame that out is because when you think about what it costs and what it takes to get a drug approved, this is not an exaggeration. If you're doing original research and you're creating a drug from scratch, it literally is 10,000 ideas that come to one approved drug. And the cost here, I have 1.7 billion. You'll often hear the most recent study, which just came out this year, $2.6 billion to get a drug approved. That's accurate. If you include the cost of where you could have invested that money if you weren't investing in it. So I took that out, right? Let's just talk about the raw cost to develop the drug from scratch from ideas. So if you take out the nonsense, it really is about $1.7 billion. The company I'm at the helm of right now, we're going to spend about $900 million before we even know if the drug is going to be approved. And the objective with this drug initially is to treat about 10,000 patients in the US. So that will touch on a couple of the ideas that are facing the pharmaceutical industry today, which is as we move from these broad indications to narrow rare disease or focused disease opportunities, you have to invest the same amount of money and clear the same regulatory hurdles to get to a place where the medicine is then approved. If you stop for a second and think, so that means you're spending $90,000 per potential patient with just the development of the drug. The question of what are you going to charge for that drug changes dramatically. If it's you're going after 30 million people with that drug, as with a cholesterol-lowering medication or a hypertension medication, the equation can be very different. So the more specialized our medicine becomes, the more focused we are on rare diseases that have very specific requirements, the better the performance of the drug in the individual. The counterpoint to that is the cost goes up. That does not explain why our meds are where they are today. I'll come back to that point. But I just want everyone to appreciate that when the pharma industry comes out with big numbers and long time frames, that's true. But the pharma industry is not without guilt in this equation for why drugs cost so much. So let's just take a moment to ask then, if this is the first part of the process, how do we create a novel drug from an idea? Where does it go wrong? Well, if you look at this funnel, this leads to a drug that is a branded drug. It's approved, you can now go out and sell it, and you have a monopoly on it because the patent protection gives you protection for about 8 to 14 years. And that works really well. Once that drug goes off patent, then it's generic. Anyone can make it, and the cost goes absolutely collapses to the floor. Just the cost of producing the drug is all that is involved, because there's no more need to cover the cost of the research. What has happened recently is people are taking generic drugs where only one person can make the drug, and they're charging branded prices for it. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's not illegal. It certainly is unethical. But if I take a drug that's been off the market for 50 years, treats 10,000 people, and there's no one else who can supply that drug, I can charge whatever I want for a few years, until the FDA approves another generic compound. Take Mylan, for example. Epinephrine is a dirt cheap substance. It's been on the market, very widely available. All they did was take an approved drug without any of this investment. They've run no clinical trials for their drug, not one. They take that drug, they package it in what they call the EpiPen. And here's where it gets really interesting. So the CEO of Mylan is the daughter of a senator who, by the way, authored legislation to ensure for the safety of children that epinephrine pens were available for food allergies in all schools. So now you have to buy the EpiPen. Happens that his daughter runs the company that makes the EpiPen. They make a deal with the schools. We're altruistic. We'll give you the EpiPen for free for the first year as long as you agree not to buy it from anyone else for the next 5 years. Well, guess what happens in years 2 through 5? They raise the price. Now the schools are legislated to buy it, the price goes up, and there's nothing illegal about it. Is it immoral? Absolutely. That's the case study of what's going on. Now, why we care about this is it's an interesting change.
Well, I'm sorry. Can we ask a question, Sturry?
Yeah, fire away. Anytime.
Why are they the only ones, if the patent's off and it's generic, why are they the only ones producing the EpiPen?
Because if it's cheap and you can't make a lot of money off of it, the only way you make money off of it is by going to scale. So there are companies that do branded drugs that do really good job of research, development, distribution, patient management, all of the stuff that's involved in that. Generic manufacturers take the chemical recipe and make a ton of the drugs and distribute them out, right? So their job is high volume, low price. When they don't exist in the market, there's no generic competition, you effectively have a monopoly.
How did they get away with no clinical trials?
The drug's already approved. So there are drugs out there right now that are generic, that are approved. No one makes them. So one of the strategies that people have been employing is to go and find these drugs, repackage them in an EpiPen, and then say, oh, that EpiPen is $100. But over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to go up to $600. Now, why would they think they could get away with that? Because up until recently, the only people that were paying that are the insurance companies. What has changed, and what always surprises people, is when they hear that the cost of their drugs is not set by the drug company. It's set by the insurance company. When you buy your health insurance, or you get your health insurance, it's just like when you get your auto insurance or your home insurance. You pick your deductible, you pick the different features of your plan, and if you're like me, you pay attention to none of it until time comes when you actually need to use it, and then you find out actually you don't have the provision for earthquake insurance, and you're soaked. Your house is to the ground, and you got to find a way to build a new home, and you don't have the money for it. And guess what? Same thing applies in health insurance. One day you find out someone has cancer or some devastating chronic illness, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, if you can go to the next slide. Next slide. There we go. This is the one that always surprises people because the dialogue today is that the biotech companies, the pharmaceutical companies, are the source of evil. We're the ones that are causing all. 10% of the healthcare spend is spent on prescription drugs. 10%. 30 years ago, anyone want to take a guess at what it was? 10%. Hasn't changed. So why are we talking about it today if it hasn't changed it as a percentage of the overall healthcare spend? Because the insurance companies are backing away and they're making you carry the burden of the cost of prescription drugs. From a social policy standpoint, this makes no sense at all. The one area of spend that we want to make sure happens is prescription drugs. These are the things you take to get you out of the hospital, which, by the way, costs a lot more than prescription drugs. And the period of time that you have your prescription drug protected is very short. It's about 8 to 14 years. And that may seem a long time, but consider that the moment that that time frame ends, generic competition comes in, and a pill that was $1,000 a day goes to 25 cents. And the reason it goes for $1,000 a day is because only for a period of time can you make up that $1.7 billion that was spent to invent it in the first place. Where this works really well are in diseases where the impact of the drug is very clear, the payback is finite, and everyone goes along their merry way. Where the drug companies get into trouble is when they get greedy and they take a drug that they're charging, call it $100,000 a year, specialized drug, breakthrough therapy, very, very helpful. Changes the nature of disease. Oh, by the way, 6 months after it's approved and that price is set, they up the price 5%. 6 months later, they up the price another 5%. 6 months later, they up the price another 5%. Nobody talks about it, but that's how the drug companies have been driving their revenue, by lifting the price of drugs once or twice a year at double-digit levels. Vermont, which is supposed to be the aggressive police state about this, has passed a law that says if you're a drug company, you raise your price 10%, we want answers on why. Not exactly a tooth-filled piece of legislation, but it's the most aggressive one out there. And the reality is 10% in an era where inflation is 0.7 is a huge price increase. And drug companies are doing it a lot. So the first thing that has to happen is drug companies have to stop playing that. The second thing that has to happen is drug companies have to stop fighting the generic arrival, right? So we'll go back to chemistry. Some drugs are made with 2 isomers. Same element, different form. One isomer has an effect on the body, the other one does not. But the compound that's approved for the patent has both. So the patent expires, guess what? They get rid of the ineffective isomer, they reissue for a patent for the drug that remains, which they know is just as effective and hasn't done anything. There's no innovation there. And that's how they extend the patent life from 10 years to 20 years. Does that matter? You're making $1 billion or $2 billion a year in revenue, you better believe it does. You better believe it does. So the drug companies are a part of the problem, but they are not the only problem. This is a Byzantine world where once the drug is approved and it starts to get launched, that's when it gets, believe it or not, really complex. You think what I've talked about here is developing the drug and taking a shot at getting it approved is dangerous. Wait till it gets approved. There is a, yeah, please.
Would you comment on a law that was passed some years ago that the government cannot bargain the price of the drug?
That's right.
So here, the government, who spends, is the biggest buyer, and spends all the money to buy drugs for, I guess, Medicare, Medicaid, everything else, is not permitted to bargain over the price. And that's why a drug in Canada, the same drug, is for a tiny bit of the money that we pay. Why shouldn't our own government be allowed to bargain with their own companies before they pay bills?
So the way Medicare is set up, right? One of your providers that's out there is Medicare, a big provider. Medicare is not allowed to negotiate with drug companies on pricing. They have to go through an intermediary, which is the insurance company, the pharmacy benefit manager, the PBM, so-called. There are all these different entities, and their names aren't important. What you should picture is the drug company over here and the Medicare payor over here, going through a bidding process where insurance companies like Humana say, we'll take some of your Medicare Part D patients, and here's what we think the sickness profile is of these people, so here's what we bid for the business. And they'll choose who gets which slots of patients. Then the insurance company has to go out and negotiate with the pharmaceutical company for what they're going to charge for the medication. And here's where they become some of the bad actors. Either they themselves or through pharmacy benefit managers, they say, sure, your new drug, we'll have it, and more importantly, we'll reimburse it without a lot of hurdles. Because once the hurdles come in, it makes it really difficult to get a physician who says, yeah, I want to use this drug, but you have to go through this prior approval process. It slows down the process of actually getting the medicine to the patient who the physician thinks needs it. So the insurance company will say, I'll give you preferential treatment, but I'm going to need a little something for that. And so literally, there are rebates, discounts, so that the list price of a drug versus what the pharmaceutical company receives is growing wider and wider and wider.
What would happen if that law was rescinded and they could go out and bargain for the lowest price?
So there's an active debate about whether that's a way to solve the problem. It would be massive disintermediation. The question is, from an intuition point of view, it makes sense. From a practical implementation point of view, I have concerns about being able to put that into effect. And let me talk a little bit about that. But the reason that's on point is because of this graph. So this is the price increase for drugs last year. At the pharmaceutical company level, 2.8% increase. At the top line level, meaning what you hear about, 12.4. So drugs went up 12.4%. Pharma companies only got 2.8 of that. This is not our data. This is third party. This is a legitimate study that just came out, IMS Health. All of that margin is going to intermediaries, wholesalers, distributors, insurance companies, companies. So the problem is made worse by the actors in the middle who have no incentive to slow down the price of drug growth. So your comment is, does that solve it? It is one way to solve it. The problem of putting everything into one big bowl and saying someone's going to make the decision is that someone's going to make the decision. And if it's concentrated like that, I think you still fall victim to many of the same abuses or challenges that are operative when you separate the decision. In other words, I don't think just by disintermediating you necessarily solve what's at the root of this. If you look at what causes the challenge, in the first instance, it's people abusing the system, right? So whether it's the patent law system, whether it's asking for and getting rebates, none of this is talked about publicly. Data's out there, but it's so complex. No one's going to dig in and figure out where the money's going. So the first thing we need is greater clarity along that supply chain. Express Scripts, the pharmacy benefit managers, are the source of capital for the campaign that you've been reading about for why pharmaceutical companies are so bad. They paid for the campaign, right? These evil, gouging, health, taking advantage, they're in the middle of this and they're making money. The CEO of Express Scripts last year, $50 million he made, right? Not in the news. We haven't paid for that ad campaign yet, right? Part of the battle here is taking place on many places, including Twitter, with the new commander-in-chief. So it's an interesting dynamic, and it's so complex. It doesn't suit itself to thorough analysis and discussion in today's very brief world, the brief attention span. So when we look at something like the Affordable Care Act, to pivot to that, what was that trying to do? First thing it was trying to do was give people health insurance. And some of the most important provisions it addressed are things like pre-existing conditions. Right? You have a patient who comes in with a pre-existing condition, insurance company can turn them away. So now, even if you wanted to pay for insurance, you're out of luck. You know, when it comes to health, that's not really an option, right? Especially when the drugs are available to treat and no one can afford them. My biggest change, if I could wave my magic wand, would be to take the cost away from the consumer. Our social policy should be to promote the use of prescription drugs. Prescription drugs keep you out of the hospital. They extend life, they reduce pain, they help in fantastic ways. In some cases, they cure disease. But we've created a system where the consumer is asked to share more and more of that cost, even though its total portion of contribution to the overall cost is the same. Stop for a second and think when the last time was you knew or what person went into the hospital and how much of that cost did you pay? Nothing. And you never saw the bill for it. It's $100,000 a day if you go to the ER, depending on what you're doing and all the rest of it. I mean, it's a massive amount of cost. And yet, we don't experience that pain. Because by the time you go to the hospital, get out of the way. We want that to happen. Why wouldn't we want that policy applying to the one thing that can prevent you from getting to the hospital in the first place, apart from your own taking care of yourself? So, this is not a simple equation. It's very complex. But the first instance is addressing the problem head on by talking honestly about where the costs lie. Research and development we want to support. We want biotech and pharma to be wasting money on research and development. That is not going to be a bad thing. That's not where the cost is coming from. Or rather, it's not where the wasted money is going. Wasted money comes once the price has to get set and all of the people get the kickbacks in the middle, and drug companies increase the prices along the way and sort of pretend like they're not really doing it. So this is all now in the dialogue, and it's going to start to change. And I think you're going to see that be a big part of the new policy. Because you can't just take healthcare away from 20 million people and say, good luck. It's going to get pushed down to the state. Medicaid, Medicare, and that's where it's going to be a massive burden. So let me just ask clear. Yeah, sorry, Katie.
So the 20 or 21 million people who are going to lose health care insurance, they're going to have to just go to the ER. Right?
Just as they did before.
I know, but I was just.
Yeah, so that's the challenge.
So,
How did the pharmacy,
no, go ahead.
how did the pharmacy benefit managers get to be so powerful?
I didn't do a graphic of this because when I did it, it was like, yeah, it was too complicated.
Okay.
But if you think, so this is me, this is our company, right? The drug manufacturer. Whether it's a wholesaler, distributor, from there, you're going to pharmacy. And watch carefully, because the pharmacy is now a part of, someone mentioned, pharmacy benefit managers. So not only are they supposed to be extracting great deals from these folks, they're a part of it. So they own the layer cake. So if they can get the drug company to pay the pharmacy or the pharmacy benefit manager or the wholesaler extra rebates, credits, they collect all of that. So that's why you're seeing these groups begin to integrate. Now the pharmacy benefit managers are the ones that the insurance companies are relying on to get good prices from the prescription drug company. If you look at what has happened with costs, somewhere here, here. The dark red is the cost of the price of drugs. The emerging pink is the cost of the intermediaries and what they're getting. So your price increase that you hear about in the news is coming from not just the evil drug companies, it is also coming from the intermediaries in the system. We look at some of these folks. Here's a perfect example. Where does the list price go when you hear a drug is $100,000 a year? The net price that the drug company might get could be as low as $50,000, but the list price is $100,000.
So presumably the intermediaries are not all evil people.
No, of course not.
What would be what's their response to what you just described? I mean, they have some type of rational.
Absolutely. And so this is where the complexity goes. I talk often about in the corporate world, in the drug company world, there are innovators and there are exploiters. Right? Innovators are out there, they're genuinely doing research and development. Not surprisingly, I would stand here today and tell you the company I am on is an innovator, right? But there are also exploiters who are the Mylans of the world, the companies like Valiant, right? Valiant's a great example. Is Valiant evil? No, it challenged the business model of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm sorry, I keep flipping around the slides, but I think it's really on point.
Which one's Valiant?
Valiant did.
Valiant is the company that basically said, we're going to collect drugs here at or just prior to regulatory approval. We're going to raise the price of them, and we're going to have no research. So get rid of it. One of the best performing companies in the S&P 500 right up until it blew up. Because it turns out that what they were doing is also owning the pharmacy, the specialty pharmacy. This group right here, they had a dedicated specialty pharmacy. So you go to the doctor writes a prescription goes to the specialty pharmacy. Specialty pharmacist helps the doctor write the prescription, helps them fill out the paperwork, helps the patient get fully reimbursed, goes to Valiant and says, here's your prescription, fill it, we need the drug. They own that whole chain.
How's that not evil?
Well, evil, yeah, I don't know. This is where, when you use capitalism to drive this process, the profit motive leads. So people innovate around the profit motive. You know, my favorite quote is one by George Merck. Should have it at the end here, I think.
Merck Manual.
Yeah, and the founder of Merck, one of the most fantastic companies, at least up until more recent times. We try never to forget that medicine's for the people. It is not for profits. The profits follow, and if we remember that, they have never failed to appear. So it's the prioritization. So in the first construct, the people, you ask, what about these intermediaries? What services do they provide? They do provide valuable services. The complexity of medicine, the complexity of tracking that, administering it, helping these people get paid, all of that process is extraordinarily complex, highly regulated, highly confidential, right? If that information leaks out. So they own that whole continuum. And they start to notice trends. Actually, there are 6 different cholesterol-lowering drugs. If we run data analysis and use artificial intelligence, we may determine that Zocor is better than Lipitor. So we'll drive patients to use that drug. There's value that comes out of some of the role that they play, to be sure. But like the pharmacy, like the drug companies, they too fall prey to finding ways to drive profits. I would tell you that it's not always because the CEO wants to make a lot of money. Sometimes it's just they're driven by competitive instinct. The metric being used is their performance on the stock market, and they want to win. And so they find ways and motivate people to be creative about how to find additional profit. And we go wrong sometimes when we do that. And when I talk about innovators and exploiters, what's happened now is that you've got both under the same company. So Merck has some medicines that are truly innovative. They've also got some medicines that they're exploiting. You know, if you look at Humira, which is not at Merck, it's at AbbVie, right? They're trying to keep that patent alive as long as they can because it's throwing off billions of dollars a year. Pfizer was making $15 billion a year off of Lipitor. So the patent goes off, $15 billion drops 90% in about 3 months. It disappears. And if you're top line and you have an 80% margin with $15 billion, that's a hard one to explain to shareholders. Everyone sees a company called the patent cliff. So what do? If you're an innovative CEO, you find a way to keep that drug for an extra year, 2 years. That's a $30 billion win. So there's a lot at stake with this stuff, and people lose sight of what they're doing. And I think it's just as simple as that. And because of the complexity of the system and the inability to understand all of this, I would be willing to tell you that this is by no means a clear explanation, but this is more understanding than I would be willing to guess most CEOs of biotech companies have of what is going on inside the system. I happen to champion this because I like complex ideas. I think this is really interesting stuff. But I also think we have to fix the problem. This is sitting right there in front of all of us. And there is no good solution that's been put forward. So I have some ideas on that, but I think the more important point is to understand that no one here gets out alive. Everybody has a bad actor who is a participant in this ecosystem. And we've got to rationalize this process so that the social policy is achieved, which is to ensure that patients get good medication, that the insurance company doesn't hold them back, that when you pay for your medication or your service, the hospital gets reimbursed. Just holding on to payment in a world where things cost billions or trillions, you can make a ton of money just putting that money in the bank overnight. You make 1% off of it, you'll be a gazillionaire. And that's why sometimes when you go to get reimbursed by your insurance company, it takes 6 months. That's not a mistake. It's a deliberate process, right? And that's because in the final analysis, this is the greatest frustration I have about the healthcare industry. I have an iPhone, right? It's a great product. If this product is not innovated and there's a better version out tomorrow, I'll change it out. I don't like this anymore. Steve Jobs is gone. I don't like the new iPhone. I get a different one. I get a Samsung. I get a different phone from a different company. When you get sick and someone comes to you and says, you have to take this medication, consider the way that medication experience goes. And we've all taken meds. They taste terrible. They make you feel awful. They come in a plastic bottle that hasn't changed in 40 years, right? We're in an era where the cell phone carries the Library of Congress to rural Nigeria, and we haven't innovated the pill bottle, right? You go and buy a necklace, $5,000 necklace, it comes in a velvet-lined box. You buy a drug that's $100,000 a year, it's in a plastic bottle this big with a typewritten label on the outside of it. It comes in a paper bag that's stapled with instructions on the outside. Why? Because the consumer in that circumstance has no say. It's not about the patient. They aren't designing the packaging or the delivery of the good with the patient in mind. They're trying to increase the throughput and just push it out. And there's no easier industry in the world to be commercially successful. You're given a monopoly. Now you're going to go sell your drug as a monopoly. There's no competition, and when you push it out there, you've got an authority figure and a physician telling the patient they've got to take the drug even if it makes them feel like hell. Pretty good business. That's why I think there's a lot of opportunity. You look around what's happened at some of these industries, the next one to come is education and pharmacy, right? These are two areas where there is a huge cost structure, and we got to figure out a new way to go at it. We woke up and Airbnb and Uber changed the way we thought about fixed asset deployment. We no longer own our own car in the next generation. There's a car there we can use. Maybe it doesn't even have a driver. Right? That's a totally changed model. There will be a day when all of this goes away and the medicine gets delivered for function, for performance. You buy a car, go to the lot, get in the car, you turn it on, it doesn't drive. You go to the guy who just sold it to you, you say, I'm sorry, what I just paid $10,000 for this, $30,000 for this car for. You get a medicine, it doesn't work, still pay for it, right? Where's that from? So that's what's going to happen. People and the industry are going to start to demand and pay for performance and deliverables. We're going to have things like, if it doesn't work, you don't pay. What a novel concept. There are drugs out now that can cure disease. One of the ones that got a lot of trouble was Gilead's Harvoni, right, the hepatitis C treatment. 90% cured. Hepatitis C is a thing of the past. It used to be a huge disease. It's now effectively cured in 12 weeks, one 12-week course of therapy. And they charged $86,000 for that 12-week course of therapy. I mean, crazy. The cost of hepatitis C degrading, liver transplant, infection of other people. This is an easy one to say $86,000 is a very good price. That should be supported all day long. Tons of research went into it. Great outcome. Everybody around that drug should make money. Why do people complain? Because the insurance companies raised holy hell. When they did their bidding process to Medicare, they didn't anticipate the uptake of that drug. And so they all lost a ton of money. Because they said, oh, well, only 10,000 patients are going to get hepatitis C treatment. Turns out it was like 1 million. Whoops. You have to pay for all that extra medicine, which is good. The patient's sick. It's going to cure them. But the insurance company has to answer for their profit. And that's what went wrong with hepatitis C. The company had no way of knowing that it would be taken up so quickly. And so the insurance companies took out a campaign. Look at how outrageous this price is. Same price, by the way, as the existing therapy in terms of cost and hospitalizations. So it's never as simple as it seems on the surface. The prescription drug companies are not the good guy and everyone else is bad. We all are participants in this. We all do things that we shouldn't do. We're facing this question right now. For example, one final narrative, and then I'll ask if anyone has any questions. My last company was a treatment for a rare lipid disorder, homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, which is basically patients who have dysfunctional LDL receptors. They have cholesterol so high, they have their first heart attack by the time they're a teenager. They don't live past the age of 30. Right? How are they treated? Their blood is mechanically filtered twice a month. Lipid apheresis. They literally take a canister of cholesterol out of the patient every 2 weeks. And that's how they live for as long as that process can be supported. when we sat back to decide what to charge for the drug that we had that could lower cholesterol in those patients, with a once-a-day pill. Right? It wasn't perfect, it had side effects, but once-a-day pill. I sat in a room with a guy who was a commercial pharmaceutical guy. I'm not a commercial guy. I don't know anything about biotech, right? I just come into this, I learned it along the way. I'm not a science background person. These are not science questions. What should we charge? Current standard therapy, $110,000 a year. What did I suggest? $110,000 a year. The same price as the therapy, and yet the patient doesn't have to take that mechanical treatment anymore. Life-changing, better for the patient, everybody wins. What happened when my replacement came in and took over the company? $330,000 a year. Why? Because they could. It's the wrong answer. And I'm happy to say that they faced no resistance from the insurance companies who said, this is crazy. But the point is, there's no, at that moment in time, it isn't anything else you've learned along the way except good ethics that dictate what should be the right price. But I will also tell you, one of the greatest things I ever got was a letter from a gentleman in Southern Italy. Still have it. Doesn't know me, I never met him. He is a homozygous patient. He wrote me a letter. And he said, thank you for developing this drug. For the first time in my life, I can travel. Because I've been living in Southern Italy in a town where they have a lipid machine, and now I can travel. For 20 years, he's been doing this process. So there's value there. I'm never going to sit down and say, oh, we're going to do this with a price. But the point is, just removing that and charging the same would have been enough. It would have been enough profit, everybody would have done just fine, didn't need to go in the average. So we got to get a hold of that. But that's where we are. I'm sorry, you had a question.
Are there enough people young people that have this disease to make that drug profitable over the long haul?
So this is interesting. Depending on how you define the disease, so it's the label, and what you can promote, and what you can't promote, it's probably 3,000 patients in the US. About $100,000 a year. Chronic therapy, that's enough. You'll make plenty of money off of that one drug. $300,000 a year, it's $1 billion drug.
Can you go off track and use that drug to treat other types of cholesterol?
And that's where the insurance companies get to say whether or not it's used off-label. Because the physician can prescribe it off-label, but if the insurance company won't reimburse it, that means the person's paying $300,000 out of pocket. And guess what? People won't do that. So that also goes to the heart of how honest the company is when they start out. When we originally developed that drug, the intention was to have it in a very low dose for broad patients. So we were targeting 10 million patients in the US. Through the process of clinical trial development, we realized it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. But if you raise the dose much higher for this particular patient population, it could be a life-changing therapy. And that's what we went after. And it got approved, and it's on the market, and can be used today. It's not used as much as it probably should be because the price is too high. And that was a decision that was taken in a small office in Boston, Massachusetts, by a guy who I think just was driven by the wrong compass.
And do you hire the researchers? Do you help colleges or hospitals to do the research to bring people in and test the drug?
So
the company does that?
The company I'm at right now, we're in the process of developing the drug. We're actually at that phase 3 process. So it's an interesting time. The company when I took it over was worth about 75, well, it was actually worth about zero. But it had $75 million of cash. Today it's worth about $800 million. And at the end of this year, it's either going to be worth a lot more or zero. And I have no idea what's going to happen. And it's all because this clinical trial, which is taking place in 18 countries, 175 sites around the world, with these patients that have this terrible disease. The data is being collected, the drug's being tested, and we'll find out in about September, October whether it does what it needs to do.
That's not that different.
It's a different drug. It's a drug with the current company I'm at. But that process to get to here is about $700 million. We have no idea whether it's going to work. And we've had to build manufacturing capacity at 2 different sites to ensure we have enough drug if it's approved. But it may not get approved, so all of that may be waste. Sorry.
Well, you didn't say anything about, or maybe when I said that you did, I apologize. For the pharma industry though, the 1.7 billion, as a group, yes, you can talk about the CDO's price gouging, but that process of the phase 1 through phase 2 trials and then FDA approval, is there any real collective understanding of how to whittle that down as well?
So the process of the actual.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, sure. So the question is there any way when we look at the different phases of drug development, particularly the clinical trials that are where we put in humans and see if it does what it's supposed to do? Because believe me, we've cured cancer in mice, but then when you put it in a human, things change. And so the physiology of that and our understanding of that over time changes. So you put it in a few people and hope they're okay. Put it in a few more people, give them a higher dose, hope they're okay. And if so, then you give it to a lot of people. And the real challenge that Roya is issuing is, isn't there any way to do that more efficiently? It's very regulated. I don't choose to do as many trials as I do. I do what the FDA tells me. Because unless I do that, it won't get approved. So I think that's a hard one to tackle. We need a certain amount of data. FDA, by the way, is part of this, but they're not evil. FDA is just a bunch of scientists who want to do the right thing, prove medicines that are going to help you. And they're held to the standard that if one thing goes wrong, they're getting hauled before Congress. So on balance, I need to see more data. It's always going to be their default. Because they've been punished every time they don't ask that question. And whenever they try to get innovative and say, well, you know what, there's enough data, let's go forward. And I asked this question 2 years ago. My company, we had data that showed that we could cure 25% of the patients who have this disease. But it was data in 89 patients. So they said, okay, looks promising, go back and do it again with another 500 patients. Now, fine, we'll do that. It's going to cost $300 million. So at some point, there's a social question there about how much do you spend and how do you make that process more efficient. Maybe you say, we'll take a chance earlier. And we won't ask for that extra 300, and consequently, we don't want the price to be as high. Fair enough.
The advertisements were done at 7:30.
I know, so I'm trying to show.
If Will's willing, and you'd like to stay, fine, that's wonderful. But there are people who
Don't.
You can leave or you can stay, and it's up to Will how long.
I'm happy to answer questions at any time, including once I'm back remotely in New Jersey, sheltered within my evil empire of and I just want to thank everyone. Your interest in this topic is very important. I think the more you engage a couple of articles, you'll get a profoundly greater understanding of what's going on, and that will help as you have this dialogue, whether it's at a cocktail party or among your friends, because this is not an easy issue, and it is one that is going to change. Social policy is about to change in this area, and it's going to have a profound impact on how you access healthcare. Sorry.
So are you familiar with GoodRx?
Yes, sure.
So what I don't understand about that is the drug cost is so much cheaper there than through your insurance. How can that happen and who gets money?
So
like I had a drug that wasn't covered by my insurance. It was $160, but on GoodRx, there were several companies that were offering it, and it was $46.
Yeah, so the question is GoodRx, which is a website service that does effectively internet surveying of available drug at available cost. And this highlights exactly the problem of the intermediaries. So your insurance company is going to charge you it's $160 to your insurance company, because that's the deal that they get here.
Okay.
And maybe the company that's selling them that drug for $160 has 10 other drugs. Okay, we'll say that at $160, and we'll give you a discount on these over here. Because we as a company really want to drive revenue on that new drug. So please pay a little more for that drug. We'll give you a discount on this one over here. It has nothing to do with the patient or the use or the physician's uptake. GoodRx basically tries to disintermediate this process and say, okay, we're over here with the patient. Patient wants to buy the drug. what's the cheapest source of the drug? Whether it's through the insurance company or just on the open market. The reason we have costs that are cheaper outside the US, and I'll leave it at this because I know we have to stop, is, and we're going through this right now, we aren't going to make money in Europe. We have a group of people, about 25 people on the ground right now in Europe, getting ready for when Europe is approved. Our drugs approved in Europe, assuming it's approved. We're not going to make money in Europe for many years. And when we finally do, it'll be incremental to the revenue we're making in the US because the price is lower over there. So people say, well, why don't you import the drug from there? The moment that starts to happen, companies like us aren't going to be launching drugs in Europe anymore. There's no point. Because the only reason we're launching it there is because it's incremental to the price we get in the US. So you will not actually cut the price of the drug in the US, which is set to market to cover the cost of the investment, if you bring a drug from abroad. Because the only reason I'm selling in Canada or Europe is to make an extra incremental dollar. And because I feel an obligation to make a medicine available outside the wealthy US, even if it's at a lower price. So we do subsidize the healthcare of the rest of the country. No question about it. It's not as easy as just saying, well, we'll import it back in, because you know what? We'll just stop selling it abroad, because we're not making any money.
I have one more question.
Yep. Maybe we do a sidebar if people want to,
The drugs to consumer ads.
Yes, the
For those?
DTC ads.
Yeah,
I hate those.
Yeah, they're
Those have got to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just the caveat at the end of what could go wrong. I would hate, I mean, speaking of not taking the patient into account, that description alone would make you say, no, I'm not going to use that product. Imagine a cell phone that you would have to take, but it may cause the following side effects. You never use it. You have to use it. And that advertising should not be driving why you use it.
So that costs the companies a lot of money to put on those ads.
About 10 to 20% of the margin goes to DTC.
So why don't they just stop that and put that money into research, lower our prices?
The honest answer to that is because promotion pays. Patients see that ad on TV and they say, wait a minute, I have this the shoulder's sore. What about here? You know? And the doctor says, okay. And they look at them and they see whether or not they need it. And so they're driving patient education and the conversation by making the patient ask for something. So it's a little, that's why I say nobody here is a good guy, is perfectly clean. We got to stop
really
it.
think the ads are gonna go away?
Well, it's protected by an unfortunate Supreme Court case, so I don't think they're going to go away. But there could be a grand bargain made that would allow us to be spared the side effect, you know, download every time we watch one of those ads. Just get them off the app, get them off.
I don't think the side effect at least eliminates some population from going to their doctor and saying, I want to do this.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean just take that part out. I mean take the whole ad out.
Oh.
Yeah. No, if we have the ad, we have to have the unpleasant discussions that follow the end. Those are all the adverse events that are tracked in clinical trials, which are really bizarre. I mean, I can tell you a story. There was a time we had a patient who stubbed her toe, right? We had to report it as an adverse event. I had a conversation with the FDA about whether or not our drug, which targets the LDL receptor and removes cholesterol, has some other side effect that caused her toe to break. No, she tripped and fell and hit her toe. But what if 20 people? Well, maybe there's a central nervous system side effect we weren't aware of, right? So you've got to track everything. We had one patient discontinue drug because she reached the age that her sister had reached when she passed away. So she said, I'm not going to take these drugs anymore. I'm done. It's a discontinuation. So how do you explain that? Well, you're settled with. So the data is really, you got to get in the weeds. Anyway, sorry. I really appreciate the interest.
I just had a quick, if you could just comment briefly, is the FDA, are they ethical and competent?
Are they ethical and
Competent?
competent?
FBI.
You know, as with any large group, the majority, yes, but there are exceptions to every rule. There are unethical and incompetent folks in the pharma companies, and they're in the FDA, and they're pharmacy benefit managers, they're in insurance companies, they're everywhere. You know, and that's why first principles apply. Whatever your business is, you got to start with what is the social policy that your institution is trying to pursue. I mean, this is an easier thing to take on because you can be a billionaire with sailboats.com, right? Sailboats.com, website takes off, you make $1 billion. Nobody cross-examines you. Are you taking advantage and making money off of someone's illness, right? So believe me, social media technology is a lot easier to deal with. Not just because of the regulation, but because of the social cost. I mean, I get it all the time. What do you mean you run a biotech company? You profit off of the illness of people that are out there. There's no way to come back against that. It isn't, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that that is true. I believe I'm doing this for the right reason and trying to accomplish the right thing. But there are people within the industry who will say, not a great way to start off a conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. That was great.
Oh, good. Good.
You know, the cost of creating right out to the
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Eric.
world-class scientists.
Yep.